It was the first day back after summer break. I was 16, a junior in high school, and already dreading the year ahead. Homeroom was supposed to be the usual. Mrs. Carter, our regular teacher, greeting us with her usual "welcome back." But that morning, her desk was empty. She had called out sick, which was strange because in all my years at the school, Mrs. Carter had never once missed a day. She was the type of teacher who showed up even during snowstorms. Instead, we had a substitute. When she walked in, the room went dead silent. She was tall, unsettlingly thin, with pale skin that almost seemed gray under the fluorescent lights. Her clothes were odd, an old-fashioned formal dress with a stiff collar, the kind you'd see in yearbook photos from the 1950s. Her shoes clicked sharply against the tile floor as she walked, and her hair, tight, severe, pinned into a bun that looked like it hadn't moved in decades. She didn't introduce herself. She just stood at the front of the class, hands folded, scanning us with sharp, unblinking eyes. Then, without looking down at the attendance sheet, she started calling our names. Every single one of us. Perfect pronunciation, even for the kids with hard names, the ones no teacher ever got right on the first try. We exchanged glances, whispering under our breath. She didn't acknowledge the whispers. She just knew. Her voice was polite, almost warm, but her eyes didn't match her tone. They were cold, calculating, like she was studying us for something. The entire class passed in silence. She didn't write on the board, didn't give instructions, didn't assign homework. She just paced slowly between our desks, pausing to glance at notebooks or stare a little too long at someone's hands, their faces, their posture. The air felt heavier the longer she was there, like the oxygen in the room was thinning out. Finally, the bell rang. The sound cut through the tension and everyone practically jumped out of their seats. As we started packing our bags, she spoke for the first time since roll call. "You'll all be back here tomorrow," she said. Then her eyes slid toward Daniel, the class clown, who was already halfway out of his seat. "Except you, Daniel." The class laughed nervously. Daniel smirked, raising his hands like he'd just been pardoned. "Guess I'm free then," he joked. But she didn't laugh. She didn't smile. She just stared at him. The look on her face froze everyone mid-chuckle. Her gaze lingered on him until the last second, and then she turned back toward her desk as if nothing had happened. That night, I couldn't stop thinking about her. The way she said his name, the way her eyes locked onto him. The next morning, when I walked into homeroom, Daniel's desk was empty. At first, I figured he was late, but by the time the bell rang, he never showed. When the substitute called roll, she didn't say his name, at all. Like he was never part of the class. Whispers started going around the room, but she silenced them with a single glance. No one dared ask about him. By lunch, people were talking. His friends hadn't seen him since yesterday. His phone went straight to voicemail. His parents hadn't answered texts, and by the end of the day, it was like his name was already fading from people's memories. Teachers didn't mention him, his locker was empty. But I remembered him. I knew he had been there. That afternoon, I passed the teacher's lounge and froze. Through the small window, I saw her, the substitute, sitting at the table, sipping tea. Her face was angled toward me, and she was smiling. But when I called over my friend to look, they just shook their head. "What are you talking about? The lounge is empty." When I looked again, she was gone. That night, I had a dream. I was back in school, walking the halls at night. Every locker door was slamming shut on its own, echoing through the dark. I heard footsteps following me, but when I turned, no one was there. I opened a classroom door and saw Daniel, sitting at a desk, perfectly still, staring at the chalkboard. Behind him were other students I didn't recognize, all in outdated uniforms. Their faces were pale, their eyes lifeless. And then the substitute stepped out from the shadows. "Sit down," she said. And in the dream, I obeyed. I woke up sweating, my heart racing. The next day at school, another student was gone. This time it was Emma. She was sitting in class the day before, alive and well, and now her desk was empty. Again, the substitute didn't call her name, and again the teachers, the students, even Emma's friends, didn't seem to remember her. When I brought her up, people just looked at me blankly. By Thursday, 5 students were gone, always the same pattern. The substitute would end class with the same line, "You'll all be back here tomorrow, except you." And the next day, that student was erased. It was driving me insane. I tried to talk to my parents about it. They looked confused. "Who are you talking about?" they asked. They didn't remember Daniel or Emma or the others. I checked my phone. Every photo of them was changed. Any picture with them in it now had an empty space, like they had never been there. On Friday, I stayed after class while everyone else left. My legs were shaking as I walked up to her desk. "What are you doing to them?" I asked. She just stared at me with that frozen half-smile. "Some students," she said softly, "aren't meant to graduate. They belong to the school." My blood ran cold. "But not you," she added. "Not yet." The way she said it, like she knew exactly when my time would come, made my stomach twist. That night, the dream came again. The desks, the pale students, the slamming lockers. Only this time, more of my classmates were sitting there. Daniel, Emma, and the others, their faces blank, their eyes empty. I woke up gasping, heart pounding. The next morning, Saturday, I thought I was safe. No school, no substitute. But when I looked at my phone, there was a notification, a calendar alert. It wasn't one I set. It read, "Homeroom, 8 a.m., attendance required." And the worst part? The location wasn't my school, it was the old, abandoned building 2 blocks away, the one they shut down decades ago after a fire. I didn't go. I stayed locked in my room all day, but that night I heard footsteps in the hallway outside my bedroom. I thought it was my dad, but when I opened the door, there was no one there. Just the sound of heels clicking on the floorboards, fading into the dark. Sunday night, I barely slept. When I finally drifted off, I dreamed I was sitting at a desk, my own desk, in the abandoned school. The substitute walked in, her heels echoing. She looked right at me and said, "It's your turn." I jolted awake, but something was wrong. I wasn't in my bed. I was sitting upright, on a hard wooden chair. Around me were rows of other students, silent, pale, their eyes empty. And at the front of the room was the chalkboard covered in words written over and over. "You'll all be back here tomorrow, except you." And that's when I realized I couldn't move. My body was frozen. My mouth wouldn't open. I wasn't dreaming. I was already there. And I think I'm still there now, because every time the school bell rings, no matter where you are, she's calling roll. And one day, she'll call your name too. It was just another ordinary day at school. Second period, math class. The kind of boring routine that made you wish summer had never ended. I was half asleep at my desk when the intercom crackled to life. At first, I expected to hear the principal's usual monotone. "Teachers, please excuse the interruption." But this voice was different. Calm, smooth, almost too calm. "Students," it said, "please proceed to the nearest exit immediately." The whole room froze. My teacher, Mr. Hammond, went pale. He glanced at the intercom, then at the door like he wasn't sure what to do. "That's not the principal's voice," he whispered. Something in the way he said it made my stomach twist. We all stayed seated, waiting for him to give us the signal to leave. But outside the door, I could hear movement, desks scraping, chairs dragging, footsteps filling the hallway. One of the kids near the window stood and peeked outside, his face drained of color. "Everyone's leaving," he muttered. I joined him at the glass, and what I saw didn't make sense. The classrooms across the courtyard were emptying all at once. Dozens of students filing out into the hallways, heading toward the exits. But something was wrong with the way they moved. They weren't talking, not laughing, not shoving each other like normal kids would. They were walking in perfect unison. Every single step landing at the same time like they were being controlled, and all of them were heading in the same direction, the football field. That's when the intercom crackled again. "Hurry now," the voice said, "before the bell rings." The way it said it, slow, deliberate, like it was almost smiling as it spoke, made the hair on the back of my neck stand up. Some of the kids in my class started packing up, nervous, unsure. But Mr. Hammond slammed his hand on the desk. "Sit down," he snapped. His voice cracked with fear. "Do not move." We all obeyed. Minutes passed like hours. The sound of synchronized footsteps grew fainter as more and more students left the building. Finally, the halls went quiet. Too quiet. Mr. Hammond slowly opened the door and peeked out. The hallway was empty, completely empty. He motioned for us to stay put while he stepped out. I'll never forget the sound that followed. A sharp static burst from the intercom, louder than before, like feedback from a microphone. Then the voice returned, this time colder. "You left the lights on in room 214. it said. That was our room. Everyone's eyes shot to the ceiling speaker. Mr. Hammond stumbled back into the classroom, his face white as a sheet. He slammed the door shut, locked it, and backed away like something was chasing him. For the next hour, none of us spoke. None of us moved. But eventually, curiosity got the better of me. I crawled across the room to the window again and looked outside. What I saw still keeps me up at night. The entire student body, hundreds of kids, was gathered on the football field. They were standing in perfect lines, shoulder to shoulder, facing the scoreboard, not moving, not speaking. And standing in front of them, near the 50-yard line, was a tall figure. At first, I thought it was the principal, but the longer I stared, the more I realized it wasn't anyone I recognized. Too tall, too thin, and its posture, unnatural, almost insect-like. It lifted one hand slowly, and in response, the entire crowd of students lifted their hands in unison. The intercom hissed again, and the same calm voice spoke, but this time it was whispering directly into the room. "Join them," it said, "before the bell rings." Mr. Hammond ordered us to move away from the window, but the voice kept repeating, louder, clearer, "Join them, before the bell rings. Join them." Some of the kids in class started trembling. One of them stood up and said, "Maybe we should go." And before Mr. Hammond could stop him, the kid walked out. We rushed to the window. He didn't hesitate. He walked straight to the field, took his place among the others, and froze. No expression, no hesitation, just gone. The rest of us panicked. Some begged to leave. Others clung to their desks like staying put would save them. The intercom shrieked with static again. "You don't have much time," the voice hissed. "Before the bell rings." And then, from somewhere far away, a faint ringing began. It wasn't the normal school bell. It was slower, heavier, like an old church bell echoing across the building. Every ring sent a vibration through the floor, rattling the desks. With each chime, more students from my class began to move, as if compelled by the sound. Their faces blank, their steps in rhythm with the bell. Mr. Hammond tried to stop them, shouting, grabbing their arms, but it was useless. They kept walking, their bodies stiff like puppets on strings. One by one, they left the classroom, until only 3 of us were left. Me, a girl named Lacey, and Mr. Hammond. The intercom crackled again, but this time the voice wasn't calm. It was angry. "You must join them, before the final bell." The room went ice cold. The lights flickered, and outside the window I saw the figure on the field slowly turn its head, directly toward our classroom. Even from that distance I felt its gaze lock onto me. Lacey screamed and bolted for the door. Mr. Hammond tried to hold her back, but she tore free and ran down the hall. Seconds later, we saw her on the field, taking her place among the rest. Now it was just me and him. He grabbed me by the shoulders, his voice shaking. "Don't listen to it. Don't look at it. No matter what happens, stay here." But then the bell rang again, louder this time. The desks rattled so hard they toppled over. The windows shook in their frames, and something inside me broke. My legs started moving on their own, step after step pulling me toward the door. Mr. Hammond held me back, screaming my name. I could see the terror in his eyes. He wasn't just fighting me, he was fighting it. The final bell rang, a deep, thunderous sound that made the glass shatter around us. The next thing I remember, I was outside, standing shoulder to shoulder with the others on the football field. My body stiff, my face blank. I could still think, still feel, but I couldn't move, couldn't speak. I was trapped inside myself. The figure at the 50-yard line raised its arms, and the entire student body followed. And then, silence. That's where my memory ends. The next morning, the news reported a gas leak at the school. Classes canceled. No mention of missing students, no mention of what happened. But I know what I saw. I know I wasn't supposed to make it out. And sometimes, late at night, when I close my eyes, I still hear that voice in my head. Calm, smooth, whispering the same words over and over again. Join them, before the bell rings. It was the first week back at school when we got our locker assignments. I wasn't expecting anything strange, just another number. Another lock I'd probably forget the combination to by next week. When I unfolded the slip of paper and read it, my stomach sank. 117. It didn't seem like much to anyone else. But that was the same locker my older brother had years ago, the one he used during his senior year, right up until he went missing. It's been 3 years, and no one has ever found him. No signs, no leads, just an empty chair at graduation and a family that never healed. So, yeah, seeing that number again, it wasn't a good feeling. Still, I told myself it was just a coincidence, just a number. When I walked to the end of the hallway and spun the dial, the door opened too easily, almost like it had been waiting for me, and what was inside stopped me cold. There was a jacket, my brother's Letterman jacket, folded neatly, like someone had been caring for it all these years. It still smelled faintly like his cologne, mixed with dust. My mom had boxed up all of his things after the search was called off. I knew she had. I saw her do it, but here it was, as if time had been frozen. And then I saw it, tucked in the back, behind the shelf. His phone. The same cracked case, the same scratches. The one he had the night he vanished. The police never found it. My mom begged them to keep looking. They said it was gone for good. But here it was. When I touched the screen, it lit up. 63% battery. That didn't make sense. No phone holds a charge for 3 years. And what was worse, there was no lock screen, no password, just open, waiting. Everything looked normal. The same background picture of our cat, the same apps. Except for one thing. There was a draft message open. Just a single unfinished sentence. It said, "I can hear it coming down the hall." And that's when I heard it. At first I thought it was in my head. But no, the sound was real, slow, heavy, like boots dragging on tile. I whipped my head toward the hallway, but it was empty. The fluorescent lights flickered once. The footsteps grew louder. Step, pause, pause. Whoever it was wasn't rushing. They were taking their time, getting closer. The phone buzzed in my hand. Letters appeared on the screen, typing themselves. "Don't look directly at it." I froze. The footsteps stopped, right outside the row of lockers. I held my breath, terrified to even blink. The air felt heavy, charged, like the silence before a lightning strike. Then, slowly, the steps moved again, passing by, fading into the distance. When the bell rang, kids flooded the hallway, laughing, shoving each other, slamming locker doors. None of them noticed anything strange. None of them heard what I did. I shoved the phone and jacket into my backpack and left. That night at home, I sat on my bed staring at the phone. I expected it to finally die, but the battery hadn't moved from 63%. I swiped through the photos. Most were normal. Pictures of our cat, his friends, random screenshots. But one album I didn't remember seeing before caught my eye. It was labeled simply, "Hallway." I opened it. Photo after photo of our school's hallways at night. Blurry, grainy, lit only by the pale glow of fluorescent bulbs. The last picture made my stomach twist. It showed the lockers, my brother's row, my row, locker 117 slightly open, and at the far end of the hall, something tall, out of focus, too thin, standing under a flickering light. My brother had taken this photo the night he disappeared. I thought about deleting the whole album, but when I tried, the phone vibrated and a new draft appeared on its own. It said, "Don't erase them, you'll need proof." I dropped the phone like it had burned me. That night, I barely slept. When I did, I dreamed I was walking the halls alone. Every locker door was open, every single one. And from the far end, I heard those footsteps again. Step, pause, step, pause. When I turned to run, the hallway stretched longer like the exit was being pulled away from me. And then I woke up to the sound of, but I wasn't at school. I was in my bed. The sound was coming from the hallway outside my room. I held my breath, staring at the door. The shadows under it shifted once, like something had paused right there. The phone buzzed on my nightstand. The screen lit up with a new draft. "Don't breathe. Not when it's at your door." I didn't move. I didn't even blink. After what felt like forever, the sound moved again. Step by step, down the hall, fading into nothing. The next day, I tried to tell my best friend. I brought him to the locker, showed him the jacket, but when I pulled out the phone to prove it, the screen was black, completely dead. I swore it had been charged all night, but now it was nothing but a cold hunk of glass. He thought I was losing it. But when I got home that night and set it on my desk, the screen lit up again. 63%. Same draft message waiting. Only this time it wasn't unfinished. It said, "You heard it too. That means it knows you now." The footsteps started again. Not outside my locker this time. Not outside my bedroom, but inside, right behind me.